Hello and welcome back to the next episode of the Shark Source podcast. I'm joined as always by Shaedon, and we got a good episode for you today. There's been a lot of news. We got the Taylor Hall trade, of course, the Sharks firing Pete DeBoer, and the new coach Bob Bugner. How is he? We also got Anthony Duclair and the crazy tear he's on, and we're also going to look at the standings, and we're going to do a new segment called Contender or Pretender, just to see where we think the teams stand. That's all next on the podcast, but we're of course going to start out with the Sharks firing Peter DeBoer. So Shaedon, I'll give you my perspective in just a second, but I'm a Sharks fan, you're an Oilers fan. So from an outsider's perspective, what do you think of the firing and what do you think of the interim head coach Bob Bugner?
Well, I can't say I wasn't surprised because, the Sharks have struggled immensely since the start of the season, and, I guess it's time for a new voice there. Bugner obviously has been an assistant in San Jose before. From what I can tell, he's a good players coach. I wouldn't necessarily put all the blame on the board. I think Martin Jones and Aaron Dell deserve a lot of the blame because their numbers have not looked good at all this year. But, sometimes coaching changes do work out in the end, Look at Calgary, obviously didn't fire the coach for his performance. But, they're doing well under Jeff Ford. The Leafs are doing well under Keefe. So, it could work out in the end for the Sharks. But, just where the Pacific Division is, how much will it help them? I don't know. But, I think Bugner is a good replacement coach for the meantime, but I wouldn't really have him for more than a couple seasons because his tenure in Florida was a disaster. So, obviously they needed to make a move. They fired, I believe, 3 coaches and their goalie coach. Obviously wanted some new voices in the room, but I think it all goes back on goaltending. Like I said, if Martin Jones can just make a save, or even Aaron Dell, I think the Sharks would be in a better position. But, there's still a lot of time left. We're nearing the halfway mark of the year. And, the Pacific Division is pretty weak right now. So, the Sharks need to take advantage.
Yeah, here's my thoughts on the whole situation. I don't really have a problem with us firing DeBoer. I mean, I don't know. I think he was not a great coach. I think he really was exposed as not a good coach when we played St. Louis in that playoff series because game 1, the Sharks absolutely dominated. They played with speed, and St. Louis just could not even hang with them. But then after that, the Blues just started playing physical, and I'll say it, they were playing dirty. I mean, they were targeting our injured players. And it worked. And the Sharks, rather than continuing to play with speed, which is how they won Game 1, they played physical with them and lost. So I didn't like how DeBoer handled that. And I honestly think he's an average coach. And the Sharks, with the talent that's on their roster, need a more than average coach. But that said, I don't think he's the main problem. I agree with you. Goaltending is a big problem with this team. I'm glad we fired our goalie coach. I mean, clearly he's not doing his job. But I did read somewhere that the Sharks have one of the highest rates of shots allowed from high danger scoring areas. So maybe the goalies are less at fault than we think, but I don't think so. I think the goalies are not good, not NHL starter caliber. I don't think Aaron Dell is an NHL caliber goalie, backup or starter. And I don't like how he was rewarded with another start after his good game against Vancouver because against Arizona, even though not all those goals against Arizona were good, were like stoppable goals, he still allowed 3 goals on 19 shots. But it is early. I know it's only 3 games under the new coach, Bob Bugner, but we are currently 2 losses and 1 win under him, and I'm honestly not too confident in him. I don't mind him as an interim coach, but I would not like him as our head coach. I think I would like to see us take a look at Roy Sommer. He is now one of our assistant coaches. I would not mind giving him a shot at head coach. Another coach that I never hear anyone even talk about that much, Patrick Raw. I loved what he did in Colorado. He was very he was a unique coach. I liked his goalie pulling strategies where he'd pull him really early. I believe he's coaching in the QMJHL right now. And then Doug Waite is someone who I don't know what he's doing now, so I'm just throwing his name out there because I thought he did a pretty decent job as the Islanders' interim head coach, but they had to get Barry Trotz, so I understand why they fired him. I wouldn't mind him getting a look, but I don't know. That's speculation, and that's a long way away from now.
Yeah, just one more thing on your head coach situation. I think it's most likely possible that Roy Summer ends up as your head coach, just because um, just with all the backlash that's going on with these coaches with Babcock, everyone else. I think that San Jose should just stick with the guy they have. So, like you said, I agree that Booner shouldn't be the head coach for the rest of the year, and I think I'll guarantee that Ray Summer becomes the coach of the Sharks next year.
Yeah, I agree. I think Roy Sommer is the leading candidate, and I think he would be a good choice for our next head coach. But I could also, I wouldn't like this, but I could also see us extending Bob Bugner too. I mean, uh, and again, it's very early, so maybe he is going to be a good head coach, and I do hope it works out because we can't waste another year. We should be contending this year. Right now, we are far from contending, and I'll actually go over that in our contenders or pretenders section. So I'm not going to get into that too much, but yeah, I hope it works out with Bugner, but I'm not very confident. All right, next, the biggest news around the NHL. Taylor Hall traded to the Arizona Coyotes. I'll pull up that trade now just so I can have the full package. So here's the trade read off. The Coyotes got Taylor Hall with 50% of his $6 million salary retained. It's only 1 year left on his deal. And Blake Spears in exchange for Nick Merkley, Nathan Schnarr, Kevin Ball, a conditional first-round pick in 2020, a 2021 conditional third-round pick. The conditions are on the first 2020 pick. It's if the first-round pick is in the top three, then New Jersey gets Arizona's first-round pick next year. It probably won't be. The third-round pick can upgrade to a second-round pick if the Coyotes win a playoff round, or if Taylor Hall re-signs. The pick becomes a first-round pick if Taylor Hall resigns and the Coyotes win a playoff round. So the Devils could potentially get 2 first-round picks. So, Shaedon, what are your thoughts on this deal?
Well, first of all, the Devils need to get a first-round pick back, but I don't necessarily love the deal for the Devils. I think I read somewhere where there's teams offering better offers. I believe the Panthers were offering Trocheck and 2 prospects or something. Those 3 prospects Arizona offered aren't anything special. I like Kevin Ball. I definitely started Kevin Ball would be in that deal, but Nate Schnarr and Nick Merkley, aren't going to be top 6, maybe not even top 9 forwards. Nate Schnarr was an overager when he had that good year in the he's not he's having an okay year in the AHL. Merkley might have some potential, but this could either go really good for the Devils or really bad because like you said, I don't think Arizona's gonna drop off the playoff race and get a top 3 pick. And even if they get another first, they're still gonna be a good team. So it's probably like a mid first to say a very late first. I don't necessarily love it. And for the Coyotes, there's no risk at all. Yes, Taylor Hall most likely will be heading to free agency, but you then trade anyone off your roster, and the players you did trade aren't going to affect your team in the next 5 years or so. And that first round pick, who knows what that pick would be. So I love this trade for the O's, and once again, I hate this trade for the Devils.
I don't really hate it for the Devils. Here's my thoughts on the trade. First of all, I think Arizona definitely won the trade, but I don't know if the Devils lost the trade. So here's how I'll put that. Arizona did not give up Barrett Hayton or Jacob Chikrin. So I think that right there is a win because I was almost sure Jacob Chikrin would be part of the trade. I mean, he's a young defenseman, very good. I was like, okay, if they're going to get Hall, he would have to be part of it. He was not. They didn't give up anyone on their NHL roster. And I thought they might have to give up Antti Ranta,
Yeah.
because the Devils would like a goalie, but no. And that's good too because I believe Darcy Kemper last night went out with injury. Yeah, he's now week to week. So they definitely are going to need Ronta to step up. And Kemper was playing just excellent this year too. I mean, right now he has a 929 save percentage. I mean, he's had Vezina caliber numbers so far. So you know, I don't know. And over his career, he's actually been really good too, 918. But yeah, this year he's playing great. So, but Ronta has been playing great too. So that was Coyotes should be fine. But back to the trade, I think the Coyotes did not have to give up too much. Now, from the Devils' perspective, and the fact that they got it retained is great too, retained salary. Now, from the Devils' perspective, if they're not going to get Chikrin, I don't really mind this because I don't think they're going to be good this year. I don't think they're going to probably be good next year either. I don't think they're going to be good for a bit. So the fact that they took 3 prospects plus picks, they're going for a slow rebuild, which I'm okay with. Their core is Heischer and Hughes. Subban and Palmieri, those guys are very good now, but Subban actually is not having a great year. I don't see how they can move him. Palmieri, I think maybe he gets traded at some point. I don't know, but they're not going to be good soon. So I'm fine with them taking, multiple prospects, hoping they hit on one. And if they end up getting 2 first-round picks for a pending unrestricted free agent, I don't think that's too bad.
All right. Yeah, you got a point there. It definitely seems like the Devils are still going to be rebuilding for years. And, if they do hit on one of those prospects, it won't look so bad. And, 2 first for Penny, I feel like you said, is pretty good. But, I remember, I think there's a source on the score saying that Hall is actually open to resign Arizona. That doesn't mean it's going to happen, but, if he does, then the Devils get a higher draft selection. So maybe maybe it won't be bad in the end, but it definitely seems like the Devils are going to take this slowly. And I'm just wondering that if they have say they have the 2 first picks, I'm wondering if they can use that in a package or trade up and get a guy like Askarov because just like the Sharks, the Devils have a bad goalie problem, and Askarov is supposed to be a top 5 guy, a top 5 pick in the draft. He's supposed to be the best goalie available. So I'm wondering if the Devils might trade up to get Askarov because if they do, then you have your goalie, you have your forward set, you just need a good defenseman.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they pick him with their own pick. I mean, they could get a top 5 pick possibly. It looks like they're not going to finish very high. But, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Here's one thing I just think is ridiculous. A lot of people were saying as if it was sure to happen that Hall would not re-sign with the Coyotes. I could totally see Hall re-signing with the Coyotes. I mean, they're good. They're young. It's a great place to live. NHLers like the area. I could totally see him re-signing there. And even if he does test free agency, I mean, Arizona, I'm actually gonna check their cap friendly right now just so I can get a good idea of like how they break out. Right now they don't have much space, I believe. Right, I think that right now I have projected space 0 on cap friendly right now. But I think they should be able to clear some. I mean, yeah, next year Keller's I guess maybe not. Keller's is kicking in next year, but I don't know. I think they'll be able to afford to re-sign Hall. I think so, and I think Hall would want to stay there.
Just on the cap, they have a projected $1.7 million next year.
Yeah, that's gonna be tough. But they can, they've got a lot of guys on injured reserve who have cap hit, and they took in assets to get those guys, so they can trade away assets to get them off their cap. Uh,
Yeah,
they've been taking in assets to put guys on that for a long time. I think they can, give up a few just to get that cap relief.
yeah.
Okay. I believe that'll do it for the Hall section. So, unless there's anything else you want to add?
I think we covered basically most of it.
Yeah. I guess from what I saw I didn't watch the game against Minnesota, but from what I saw him against the Sharks, his debut was against the Sharks. That play he made to set up the game-winning goal was great. It'll take him. I think it's going to take him a little bit to get used to the new system and stuff, but I think this trade's going to work out for them. All right, so now we're going to go over the standings. I'm going to read off real quick, just in case you haven't been checking. I'll read off the standings for the playoff picture teams in both conferences, and then we're going to do a segment, Contender or Pretender. We're going to look at some of the teams that are on the bubble and determine whether or not they're playoff contenders or not. We're not really talking cup contenders. After this segment, we'll get into cup contenders, and I'll sort of talk about why I think the term is overused a lot. So, Eastern Conference, we got Metropolitan Division, Washington, Islanders, Hurricanes. Atlantic, we've got Boston, Montreal, Buffalo. Wild card, we've got Pittsburgh, Philly, and then some teams that are on the playoff bubble. We got Tampa, Toronto, Florida, Rangers, and Blue Jackets. Then in the West, we got Central Division. We got St. Louis, Colorado, Dallas. In the Pacific, we got Arizona, Vegas, Edmonton, and then wild card Winnipeg, Calgary. On the bubble, Minnesota, Nashville, Vancouver, and San Jose, maybe, even though they're tied with Chicago and LA. So, Shaedon, before we get into this contender or pretenders section, anything about the standings you want to add?
That by my eye, it looks like some of these divisions are weak.
Yes.
Look at the Atlantic. I think
Very
that
weak.
last night Montreal was like out of a playoff, but now they're somehow second in the Atlantic. That division could be fights in depth because there's 6 teams, well 5 teams in contention for playoff spot, and same thing in the Pacific. The race is so close. Arizona and Calgary are separated by 3 points. Vancouver's there, San Jose might get in, who knows? But the Central and the Metro are just a gauntlet. And
Yeah.
a lot of those teams are strong. Like, look at Minnesota. They're closing on the wild card spot. So, it's gonna be a fight to the death for sure. And there should be a lot of teams taking advantage of some of the schedules they have. So it's gonna be interesting to watch.
If you look at the Western Conference, 4 of the bottom 5 teams in the Pacific Division, and so I mean it really is just a weak division this year. And so yeah, let's do contender or pretender. I'm gonna list off some teams, and I want you to tell me if you think they're a playoff contender or a pretender, and you think they're gonna fall out of contention. So these are teams either in a playoff spot now or just on the bubble. So start off with Montreal.
If it's back to full self, they're a contender. But
Can you repeat that again? I think I couldn't hear you. Who are you talking about?
Carey Price.
Carey Price?
Like, if he's on his game, he's back to his old self. They're going to be a contender. But he's been shaky this season, man. I don't know. I just don't think they have the floor depth either. I'm gonna say Montreal's a pretender. They need a consistent goaltending. They don't score a lot of goals. I think their defense is pretty fine, but I especially where Toronto and Tampa are right now, and how they're probably going to make a playoff spot, and Jack Eichel is carrying the Sabres on his back. I just see Montreal falling now, so I say they're a pretender.
I 100% agree with you. I think what could become one of the worst contracts in the NHL history is Carey Price's contract. I really do believe that that was a big mistake signing him for that much, because so far this season he has a 907 save percentage. I mean, if you're paying a goalie $10.5 million and he's only 32 right now, he should have Vezina caliber numbers. He doesn't. I mean, Darcy Kemper has what Carey Price should be having right now. I mean, I think if he was playing like he's supposed to, I think Montreal would be, I would say, a playoff contender. But right now, I think they're a pretender. I just don't think they have the depth, and I don't think Price is playing good enough for them to be a playoff contender. Okay, next up, Buffalo.
Well, like I said, Jack Eichel is really carrying the team on his back, but you know, well, for one thing, the point streak was unbelievable. I think it was 17 games or something. I'm just not sold on Linus Olmark. Carter Hart's pretty much the backup, but Linus
Hutton.
Olmark, you know, like he hasn't played a full NHL season as a starter, and I'm still pretty sure he's young, but you know, uh, I could see the wheels falling off Buffalo pretty soon. They played last night, they got killed, and yeah, it's just one game, but you know, they've been struggling since that hot start, and I think they're pretenders. If Jack Eichel keeps this up, then maybe they can be in a conversation, maybe with 93, 94 points, but there's two other strong teams behind them, or a couple strong teams behind them that actually passes them.
I
Like,
100%. Yeah.
just one thing, because right now they have 39 points in 36 games. Florida has 3 games in hand, and they're 2 points behind them. So, I feel bad for Buffalo fans, but I just don't think they're gonna make it again.
You know, I feel bad for Eichel. I mean, he is just tearing it up. 50 points. The person with the next most points on that team, Victor Olofsson with 33. Jeff Skinner with that brand new contract, only 18 points. I mean, that's a disaster of a start for Skinner. You know, after they just paid him so much. So, yeah, I agree with you. I think they're a pretender. Olmark, I mean, I think I don't know. I don't know if I'm as down on him as you are. I'm very down on Hutton. I mean, he's signed until 2022 at a pretty reasonable amount of money for a backup, but he's got a 894 save percentage, which you want more from your backup. But I don't know. I think Olmark is okay, but I just don't think they have depth. I mean, the fact that they only have 4 players with above 20 points, 2 above 30, and only 1 with 50, none in the 40s of points. I mean, they're just not good enough. I think the only reason them and the Canadians are in a playoff spot right now is because their division is incredibly, incredibly weak. I think they're pretenders. I don't think they have a chance for the playoffs. All
Yeah,
right.
I agree.
Next up, I think this is going to be a pretty easy one, so we won't spend too much time on it. Pittsburgh.
Yeah, they're a contender. They have Malkin, Crosby, and they've been injured all year, and they're still putting up wins. Tristan Jarry has stolen the number 1 spot for Matt Murray, and you know what? Mike Sullivan might get Coach of the Year consideration, so they're a contender.
Yeah, 100% agree. I mean, the fact that they've been just going off without Crosby. Crosby's only played 17 games this season, and he has 17 points, a point a game. I mean, Malkin has been going off. Gensel, 36 points in 34 games. So, Pittsburgh, I definitely think they're playoff contenders. I think they could be cup contenders. We'll get to cup contenders in a little bit, but I think Pittsburgh is definitely a playoff contender. I don't think they'll be in the wild card for very long.
Sequel Pittsburgh. They're first in MC today, so that's gonna be a fun matchup to watch.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we've got Crosby versus it would be Crosby versus McDavid, but unfortunately Crosby's not playing. Then we got Philadelphia, second in the wild card spot right now. Contender or pretender?
You know, Philly, I think they've actually been pretty decent this season. Carter Hart is basically the starter. He's been playing pretty good. As I think this is his second year in the NHL. Kevin Hayes, even though the contract is pretty bad, he's been producing. They're just one of those teams where they're a hot and cold team. When they're hot, they play amazing, but when they're bad, they're cold, they just play awful. And I don't know. I don't know if they're gonna make the playoffs or not. They'll definitely be in contention, but this one's a hard one for me. I'll say they're a contender, but I don't see them making it past the first round. But
Yeah, we're just doing playoff contenders, so yeah.
Yeah, I'll say they're a contender.
Yeah, and I agree. So I guess I should clarify. So playoff contender, I guess we think they'll make the playoffs because because I definitely think Buffalo and Montreal will be in contention for a spot, but that's sort of what we mean. So yeah, and I guess we've agreed on all of them, and we'll continue to do so. I think Philadelphia is a playoff. Is a playoff. All right, we're back. Sorry about that. But anyway, I think Philadelphia is a playoff contender. I mean, the fact that I don't know. I don't think a lot of people expected them to make the playoffs, but I think that was mostly because we expected the rest of the division to be better. I can't remember where I put them in my predictions, whether or not I thought they'd make the playoffs or not. But Carter Hart playing pretty good. 912 save percentage so far. I think they do have some more depth. They've got 5 guys with over 20 points, and they've got quite a few guys just on the cusp of that. So I think they could definitely make the playoffs. I do think they will make the playoffs this year. So I'm going to say they're contenders. Maybe I don't know if they'll make the playoffs actually, just because of some other teams in here, but I think they'll be very close. So, yeah. All right, next one, Tampa Bay, contenders or pretenders? One of the most interesting teams so far.
They haven't looked like Tampa Bay this season, and maybe Columbus did something mentally to them, but they're gonna have to find their groove back at some point. They're still probably one of the deeper teams in the league. They have a couple games in hand. They're tied with Toronto. They're most likely making the playoffs. Just a slow start for them. And they're gonna make the playoffs. I would bet on that. They still have a lethal offense. Victor Hedman's still a Norris Trophy guy, and Vasilevsky's still a good goalie. So a slow start, yeah, but they'll easily catch up to Montreal and Buffalo. So they're a contender.
I agree, they're a contender. It's really amazing if you look at their stats that they're in this position. Vasilevsky, I think he's been disappointing because he has a 906, which isn't terrible, but for him, I think it is. They have 7 guys with over 20 points, and they're just so deep. They really should be doing a lot better. One guy you want to watch, Tyler Johnson. He's got 15 points so far. I'd like to see more out of him. I've never really, Johnson's never been his best season. He had 72 points. He's never come close to that since 50 was his next best since then, but I don't know. I'd like to see him step up more. I think the Lightning will make the playoffs for sure, just based on how weak their division is. But they should. I think they're the most talented team in the league. They should win the cup. So I think if they're not back to being their old self, the best or second best team in the league by the end of December, I think they gotta fire the coach if they're not back to how they should be playing.
I agree because it's disappointing to see where this team has, been led to. Last year was probably the deepest team they're probably going to construct, and all for what? Zero playoff wins. So the coach should definitely be on the hot seat. Not so much in the GM, but Tampa's been really disappointing over the last couple of years.
All right, next team, and this team is one of the most another interesting team, the Leafs.
Um, I'll make it short. I think they're contenders. Freddie Anderson's probably one of the best goalies in the league. Morgan Riley's a stud defenseman, and with that top six in Toronto, I don't see how you can't win games. Um, they're starting to pick it up a bit after finding Babcock, so I think they'll make. I think they're a contender for sure, and I think they're also cup contenders. But they'll definitely make the playoffs. I say.
All right, we got a little bit of a disagreement right here. So I would definitely say they're contenders for the playoffs, but I also would say they're the most overrated team in the league, or maybe not the most, but one of the most, and that's mostly just because of how big their market is. Everyone's always talking about them. Okay, so here's what we know about him. Matthews going off this year. Marner is over a point per game. They've got a lot of high-end talent. But just like everyone said before the beginning of the season, they are going to have trouble with defense. Freddie Anderson is posting a 920 save percentage. And they still, with the goalie playing that well, and with the talent they have, they really should be, right up there near the top of their division, and they're not. They're 12 points behind Boston, for the division lead, and they're in 5th place. They just should not have that with the goalie playing that well. And I get they had, Babcock. It doesn't seem like he was the right coach. They're 8-4 under Sheldon Keefe, but I just don't think they have what it takes to come close to winning a cup. I think they're a playoff team, but I don't think they'll make it past the second round if they even win their first round matchup. So I would say they're playoff contenders, not cup contenders. And again, we'll get back to the whole cup contender. I don't really think it's a good term, but we'll get back to it later. All right, last one in the Eastern Conference, Florida, contender or pretender?
The thing with Florida is that Bobrovsky has been up and down this season. They have a pretty good offense and good defense. It's just once again, it all comes down to the goaltending. They have, like I said, 3 games ahead on Buffalo, and they're 2 points out. Um, if Bobrovsky just plays like even average, above average, I think they're a playoff team. And the core is still young. Ekblad's so young, Barkov and Huberto still very young. So, I would say they're a contender for sure. Um, I'm just not sold on Bobrovsky yet, but I'd say they're a contender.
I'd say playoff contender. I think the Florida Panthers are the most underperforming team in the league. Joel Quenneville, he's a great coach. No one can argue his success. But how does a team with this much talent not be right up there with Boston? It's shocking. They have 7 players with over 20 points, 2 of them defensemen. Trocheck, I understand he's been injured, so he could also have 20 points if he played the whole game. Bobrovsky, that could go down as one of the worst signings ever. And the signs were there too, because in his season with Columbus, he did not have a great regular season. I'll try and pull up his stats real quick, but that playoff run really earned him a lot of money that he would have lost. In his last season with Columbus, he had a 9.13, which is pretty good, but I remember at the beginning of the season he struggled. He got suspended by the team, and he was not at his Vezina caliber numbers when he had a 9.13 in 16-17 and a 9.31 16-17 and a 9.12 in 17-18. A 9.13. His numbers have been declining, and the Panthers have signed him long term for a lot. So he needs to rebound. Only a 9.03 so far. I think he's the key. I think they're playoff contenders, but I really think they should be not cup. I think they should be the second best team in their division right now since Tampa's not doing good, but they're just not. All right, we're gonna move on. Sorry, Rangers and Blue Jackets fans. I don't really feel like analyzing your teams. I don't think they're in contention anyway. So now we're gonna go into the in the Western Conference. I think the Western Conference as a whole is stronger than the Eastern Conference. I think the Eastern Conference has a few really good teams, but I think the Western Conference has more good teams. So I think we're gonna do the. I don't even think I want to do any from the Central who are in a playoff spot. I think they're all. I think they're pretty obvious. The only one we're gonna do who's in a divisional playoff spot right now is Edmonton, of course. So Shaedon, you're an Oilers fan. What do you think? Edmonton contenders or pretenders?
Well, I don't think it was too long ago, like maybe 3 weeks ago or a month ago, where I told you they would make the playoffs. Right now, I'm not sure because we have some things, and there's been games where we should have won, we lost. Mike Smith is not an NHL goalie anymore. I told you that. I would love to have him out. We have no depth, like none. It's basically Connor Leon scoring 99% of the goals, while James Neal and Nuge will chip in here and there. But after that, there's no goals coming from anyone. I think one of the most underrated parts people are overlooking is defense. One Sam's defense is great. I think it's a decent to good defense core. Klefbom's having a decent season. Larson is struggling a bit places, just coming back from injuries. Darnell Nurse is one of the most overrated defensemen ever. The guy he has no offensive capability, but some reason our insiders are saying he is $7 million, which is retarded. And Ethan Bear has just been a great surprise in Edmonton. Love the guy. He can shoot. He's a good puck mover. He's been a really good staple in that top four. Edmonton just can't get goals. There's a stat on Sportsnet where it said where the past 25 games where McDavid and Draisaitl didn't get a point, we're 0-25.
Wow.
And it's ridiculous.
Sorry, hold on. We're having audio problems again with you. Hey, Shaedon, hold on. You mind repeating your last point? I didn't hear anything.
Which part?
I don't know, the one you just said most recently.
Oh, that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're so relying on Connor and Leon to score points, and we're in cap issues, but at some point we need to make a trade or call up one of our prospects like Yamamoto or Benson to pick up the slack here, because it's just funny how no one else is scoring. These two guys are tearing up the league. I think Connor has 60 points or something, and it's sad how we can't even win more than 3 games in a row with these guys. And the goal, Mike Smith's performance has really brought the team. I think Mikko Koskinen has stolen the number 1 job. He literally saved our ass against the St. Louis Blues. I don't know. It's been a struggling month. Every team has her ups and downs, but this the wheels have fallen off. I just can't see it. I want them to make the playoffs. Because fans aren't showing up to the games anymore. The arena's been empty. Even the environment has been dead. You know, and this isn't on all because he just came in here. He's been dealt a mess because of Shirley, and like once again, we're almost halfway through the season. Maybe it gets better. We're still 2 points out of a playoff spot. I'm in first place. Like we win today, we're tied for first. But just the trend in the last 10 games is concerning. Um, they're pretenders. Honestly, I think wouldn't say they're going to be a 75, 79 point team, but I just think that playoff spot might go to another team or maybe to another Central team because honestly, Edmonton's on a downward trend and it's not looking good.
Yeah, here's a stat I'm gonna read off. Edmonton has scored 100 as of I believe today or yesterday. I'm not sure which, so it might be slightly different. But Edmonton has 107 goals. McDavid and Draisaitl have factored in on 79 of their 107. That's 73.8%. So they are very reliant on those two players. And yeah, I think Mikko Koskinen definitely has. I don't think you mind that contract as much as you did, because he's got a 919 save percentage, so he's looking pretty good. But yeah, I don't know. The Oilers, I think, need more depth. I think McDavid and Draisaitl's greatness has really helped hide a lot of their issues. So now I have a hard time putting them as pretenders, though, just because of how weak the rest of the division is. I mean, I really can't. I guess I'm gonna put them as pretenders. Well, I don't even know. Uh, I can't. I'm having a difficult time putting them as pretenders just because I really think a lot of the other teams in the division are also pretenders. So I really can't decide. But if I had to pick, I would just say pretenders, just because I don't know how they can keep up this pace. Just those two players. But I really do think they're pretenders. But if they made the playoffs, I wouldn't be too shocked just because of how bad the rest of the division is.
Right.
All right. Next team we're gonna do first wild card spot. They've been very streaky. This team, Winnipeg Jets.
Um. Well, Connor Hellebuyck looks like his old self again, and the defense, of course, he lost Myers, who lost Truba. Buffalo is not returning. So it's basically Josh Morrissey, and he's been excellent this season, and we also know the talent the Jets have on their forwards, and a lot of their defensemen are basically third pairing defensemen, except for Morrissey, of course. Like you said, they're streaky. But with the play with Connor Hellebuyck, I can't see them not being in the playoffs. So I would consider them a contender. But if I were the Jets, I would definitely look at the trade down, which is actually a couple months away, to add a top four defenseman. But the Jets will make the playoffs. If Connor Hellebuyck keeps this up and the forwards keep scoring, they should be fine.
All right, here we go. I'm having a. This is another one I have a really difficult time deciding, and I just don't know if I can trust them. So here, I'll take a look at their players. They have 7 guys with over 20 points. They've got some depth. Neil Pionk is another guy who's really taken advantage of his opportunity with the Jets. Their defense is really concerning. I don't think they're anywhere close to what they were when they made the semifinals just 2 years ago, but I guess I would put them as contenders. I do think they'll make the playoffs right now just because of Hellebuck's great play. But I don't know if he can keep up that save percentage. So I think they're going to be a wild card team, probably the second wild card team. Maybe they make it, maybe they don't. I don't know, man. It's really tough. Maybe
Yeah.
not. You know, I might actually go back on that one just because I don't know how long Hellebuck can keep it up. I mean, I know he's good and he is a good goalie, but 9-2-4. I actually, you know what? I'm changing. I'm going pretender for Winnipeg. I don't see him making it. We'll see
Wow.
though. All right, Calgary.
You know, they have still one of the strongest offensive cores. Chuck, Lindholm, Monahan, Backlund, of course, Gaudreau. The defense is still strong. Rich is a good goalie too. Um, they had that slide that really cost them points, but I think they'll be in contention for home ice, honestly. So without a doubt, I think they're a contender.
Wow. I'm going pretender. I Here's who's been underperforming. Johnny Gaudreau. I remember last year people were telling me that there was a sort of a discussion of who's the best NHLer American. And people were discussing if Gaudreau is better than Matthews and Kane. I think that argument, even though I do think he's very good, I think that's been put to bed by his absolutely miserable performance this year. He's tied for the lead in points, but only 10 goals for 29 points. I mean, that's just unacceptable from your big star. I think their main problem is they've lost a depth. They've got four guys with 25 or more points, but no other guys outside of those four with over 20 points. So David Riddick, I think he's been good. 9-13, that's pretty good. I think he's been good enough so they can make the playoffs. And it's the same with them and the Jets actually. If they both make the playoffs, I think it'll be because of a weak conference. I don't know if I might not have been right when I said the West is, better than the East, because now I'm looking at it. I don't know if either of these teams are that great, but they could make it just because of the weak conference. But I'm saying pretender. I just don't think they have the depth to win, and their stars. Gaudreau needs to step up. Kachuk, 29 points is pretty good, but someone's got to step up. Maybe he needs to do more. I don't know, but I just don't think they're getting enough points from them.
Right.
Okay, next up, Minnesota, my favorite, or not my favorite, but one of my favorite teams just because I picked them when everyone else said they would be terrible, and they've definitely outperformed expectations. But are they contenders or pretenders?
Well, I'm definitely surprised at where they are now. But obviously some of the trades they made in the past years, like the Fiala trade, has actually looked pretty good because Grant was really struggling in Nashville. Donato's been playing pretty well. Obviously, still hurts to lose that Niederreiter trade, but I think Dubnik has been okay enough to win them games. Ryan Suter, Matt Dumba, Brodin still a pretty good defense core, of course, with Spurgeon. Eric Stahl just continues to have another good season. I really like most of their forwards, but at the same time, I still see them as one of those tweener teams that gets maybe 85 to 90 points, just misses out on the playoffs, or if they even make the playoffs or first round exit. It's a hard one, especially like you said, how weak this conference is. This is just how funny how weak it is. But I'm gonna say pretenders. It could be contention for a playoff spot, but I don't think they can.
I'm going. Here's how. Well, Here's how I'm looking at the team right now. I don't think they have any superstars. I know. No, actually, I'm gonna say for sure they don't have any superstars. Their best player, I would say, I don't know. Like, it's hard to say their best player, but one player who I think needs to step up more is Matt Dumba. I know he's a defenseman, but he only has 10 points, and I don't like the plus minus stat because I don't think it's very good representation for an individual player skill. That said, Matt Dumba is minus 11, and that's just really bad. So I don't know. I think I think the fact that they have a lot of players underperforming and yet they're still really close to the playoffs is a great sign. Dubnik has actually been injured. He's only played 15 games. Alex Stalock and Capo Kakkonen have been pretty good, good enough to keep him in it. I think the fact that they've haven't received great goaltending. I mean, Stalock's a 907. Dubnik was playing injured and he's not playing a lot, but 891. Kapokakinen 913. So I think Minnesota is a contender. I think they will make the playoffs with how they're playing, just because I think they're gonna the guys who are not playing as well as they should at Donato, Dumba. I think they're gonna improve, and so I think they're going to make the playoffs and just because the conference is weak. All right, here's a real interesting one. Nashville.
Well, the first thing I'm going to say again is goaltending. Pecorine has not been playing well. UC Saros has been pretty decent, and I think guys like Duchesne have been underperforming. I haven't really heard much of Matt Duchesne since he went to Nashville. Um, with Nashville, once again, the conference is weak. They're still very talented. Um, Pecorine can just go back to his old self. They'll be a force to reckon with in the playoffs, but they should rebound. I think they're a contender for sure. You just have to hope Matthew Sheen actually starts playing a bit better because 9 million for him was a bit steep at the time, and it looks pretty bad now.
I can't remember if yeah, no. I'll get to that later, but yeah. Nashville. You know who they remind me a lot of the Sharks. Rene and Soros have actually not been good enough. I mean, they both have 894 save percentages, but what's worse is Nashville has a pretty good defense. Ellis could be up. Ellis is having a really good year. Yossi leads the team in points, and they're both very good at defense. They got rid of Subban, but Subban hasn't actually been that good defensively this year. So the fact that their save percentage is that low behind that defense is really concerning for me. Yeah, Duchesne's been underperforming. Forsberg's been underperforming. Johansson's been underperforming. They really don't have. I think their offense is in big trouble. So I'm gonna say they're pretenders. I don't know if I have enough teams who are contenders actually to make the playoffs. So some of my pretenders will have to make the playoffs just because we don't have enough teams. But yeah, I mean, right now they're pretenders. I think if they got a better goalie, if they got just like a good goalie, I think he could make up for their offense's problems. And with that defense, I'd say they'd make the playoffs. So I don't think Saros or Rene is the answer. They do have former Shark Troy Grosnick in the AHL. Maybe he's the answer. I don't know. All right, second to last team in this segment, Vancouver, contender or pretender?
It's like every year where they start off hot and then they really cool down. They actually have an identical record. And this point in time through 36 games. Um, with Vancouver, we know about the young talent they have. Not Jack, Quinn Hughes. Pedersen has been good again. Horvat, Besser. JT Miller has been a great winger for them. Michael Furlan, he's been injured, but he's a decent ad. Thatcher Demko, just gonna be a good goalie for them, especially in the future. But I think it's gonna take one more year until they make the playoffs. I was high in them. I really love their additions, but after 36 games, I think I have a good enough sample size to say that they are a pretender. But the future's bright in Vancouver. Especially that they have Colson coming up. Levy should be coming up pretty soon. Cole Lynn, they have a lot of good prospects. They might not march to the USA. I don't think you need to worry about him, especially with DiPietro and Demko going forward. So they're a pretender, but next year I think they're going to be a pretty good team.
Yeah, I agree with that. 1 year away, I think they are 1 year away. Jacob Markstrom has played good, 914. Thatcher Demko's played okay, 906. But I really think they're sort of wasting a lot of the young talent. Now there's plenty of time. Besser and Pedersen are having good seasons, but they still are very young. And Quinn Hughes is having a nice season. That was a great pickup for them in the draft. Detroit should have never passed on him for Zadina. But yeah, I think they're young. I love what Jim Benning is doing with the team, but I just don't think that they're ready this year. So I say they're pretender. All right,
Okay.
last team, San Jose, contender or pretender.
Well, I think I said most of my points in the beginning of the show. You know, some guys aren't performing like you said. Plus minus is probably one of the most overrated stats, but you look at where Burns is and Carlson, and yeah, they're picking up some offense, but defensively they've been awful. And once again, Martin Jones and Aaron Dell, even if they play above average, this team should be better. Obviously you guys lost a lot of depth in Pavelski, who actually isn't having that strong season. I think only 15 points, but and of course you lost Donskoy. Um, it's I think it's more tough that this is probably Thornton's final year, and he needs to go out of a cup. The guy is
I
a
don't see it
warrior out
happen.
there. I don't know the backstory of him losing his captaincy, but he's a great leader on and off the ice. Obviously the Sharks will trade him because he's good. He will retire as a Shark for sure. But I think this it's just the goaltending that's baffling me. Um, you guys need to trade for one, but I don't know who you're gonna get. And Martin Jones isn't movable with that contract. He has like 6 years left at a $5 million cap or something like that. So if the Sharks want to get better, I think it starts in nets. Then you can slowly look at the defense or the offense. But if Jones and Dell just play half decent, this team is probably in a wild card spot.
You know who I think we should get? Robin Leonard. I would love to see us go out and get him. I believe he's having a pretty. I should check his stats real quick, but I think he'd be pretty good. Let me see his stats before I say that. But yeah, no, he's actually having a great year right now. 972. I mean 927. So that's really good. But he's sort of been splitting with Crawford. I believe he's only under a 1 year deal too. So I would like us to get him. I'd give up a lot just to get him because I agree with you. I think we need a goalie. I think that's our main problem. Now, there's a lot of other problems. First of all, Burns only has 5 goals. He is a defenseman, but he should be scoring more than that. Carlson only has 3 goals, but he's never been a big goal scorer, and I've actually been impressed with Carlson's play recently. I think he's really been stepping it up after his abysmal start to the season. And then Vlasic has been very concerning both offensively, even though he was never much of a forward. But actually, offensively, he's been pretty good. 5 goals and 5 assists, but for his standards. But defensively, he's been real bad compared to what he should be playing as. And of course, goaltending. So I'm gonna say they're contenders, but that's only because the division is weak. And I do think they are better than how they've played. I don't think they're gonna win a cup this year, unfortunately. And then
Just one thing.
yeah,
If I were the Sharks, I've seen a lot of teams do this where I think they should try to trade Thornton to a cup contender. Then he should sign a 1 day contract with the Sharks so he actually retire as a Shark, which would be fitting. But I think the end goal is to get Marlowe and Thornton a cup. The amount of years they've been in San Jose, of course, Marlowe 2 years in Toronto, but they definitely deserve one.
here's the thing. The reason I don't think that the Sharks are going to trade him is I think they'll be in a playoff spot by the trade deadline, and they're not going to want to get traded off of the Sharks while we're in a playoff spot. And also, I mean, they've been contributing. I mean, sort of. They each Thornton has 12 points, Marlowe has 11. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. That's decent. I'd say why not keep him? We'll see what happens. All right, and that is going to do it for this segment. I just want to just quickly say for Cup contender, I see all the time people are throwing around like teams. So many teams are Cup contenders. I think that it's overused. I think the term should really only be used for like the top echelon of teams. So we'll see. Again, we'll see which teams are Cup contenders. We're not going to do like what teams we think are Cup contenders, but I think it's overused, the term. All right, we don't have too much left, but we are gonna talk about Anthony Duclair and a few other things. We'll start with Duclair. He's got 20 goals right now. One of the least talked about stories in the NHL. He's on the Sens, so that's probably why. Here's a list of the only players with more goals than Duclair right now. Pastrnak, Eichel, Draisaitl, McKinnon, Matthews, Ovechkin. I mean, he's going off right now, and I believe.
Your mic's kind of off.
Okay, hold on. Can you hear me now? It's recording fine.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, good. So that's just really amazing that all those players have so many. Those are all elite players, and those are the only ones with more goals than Duclair. Duclair is on a 1-year deal, but he is a restricted free agent next season, and he's only 24. So what are your thoughts on Duclair just really playing well?
Well, first of all, I think for Duclair, this is the perfect situation to be in. I think this is his fifth NHL team. He's still really young. And he's absolutely lighting it up, and he's looked like the player that he was projected to be. Now, the thing is, he's not even getting top line ice time. He's buried on the third line with Chris Tierney, a former Shark, and Nick Paul. And, he's getting top line power time. I'm pretty sure he's getting PK time. And, I think he just smarted up. There's a lot of people slamming him about his actual hockey IQ and his defensive play. And it looks like he took those suggestions or those complaints and really made them a strength of his. And, someone on Ottawa was going to get points. Obviously, I think Pajot's been having a good year. Chuck's been having a good year. But, Duclair's been impressive. Now, I've seen people saying that they should trade him while he's at an all-time high. But, if I'm the Sens, if he's having this kind of season, try to sign him. If he's been having this monster year, I will lock this guy up to be part of our core. And he doesn't have to be a 30 goal scorer every year, which he's probably gonna get 30 goals. But it's nice to see Duclair finally break out. Obviously the Rangers never worked out. He had attitude issues, and Arizona, Chicago was basically nothing. Then in Columbus, Tortorella called him out, and here in Ottawa, he can play under no pressure because the Sens basically no media coverage, and it's just a perfect situation for him. So when the team does grow, I think he's gonna be a vital part of the future.
Yeah, I completely agree. Here's the thing, if I'm Duclair, I would want to resign with the Senators, even though they're bad. First of all, they can afford to pay him. They have the cap space. But also, every other situation he was in, he just was not succeeding the way he should have. I don't think you mess with success. I think he should stay in Ottawa. I think, and I think the fans are going to rally around him. This is a guy who's had so much adversity in his career. He finally found a home, and I think it's just a great story, and I'm really happy for him. All right, I think, is there anything else you want to add? Because other than that, I believe we've covered everything that we wanted to cover.
Well, one thing, Subban finally got a point tonight.
Yeah, Subban really has been underperforming. We talked about that. and that's just another part of this Devils season that has just not gone the way that they'd hoped.
I'm just gonna add something quick here. It has nothing to do with any of the topics we have, but one guy that's been honestly that's been going under noticed or not been getting noticed a lot is Ryan Strome.
Yeah.
Yeah, the guy's
I
been, I
have
think,
not
almost
noticed
a
him.
point per game, and yeah, he plays with Panarin, but the past it's kind of similar situation to Claire, where the past couple years where Scott has been really underperforming. He was drafted fifth overall. After leaving the Islanders, Team Edmonton, was didn't play that well, and he's found a spot with the Rangers. So, and he is I think he's a UFA this season. So if I'm the Rangers, I have to be careful with him because players in contract years, you can never tell. Look at Chase, he had 22 goals, and we're stuck with him for the next 2 years. So, just one guy that's been going under notice that might get paid a lot this summer.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I also want to mention Panarin. I mean, everyone knows he's a big star, but there have been a lot of big free agent signings. Duchesne, Pavelski, who just haven't worked out as well as people wanted. Panarin has 43 points in 33 games right now, 20 goals, 23 assists. So that has really worked out for the Rangers. It's too bad the rest of the team isn't that great. So just really happy for Panarin. I mean, I guess if you're a Blue Jackets fan, you probably aren't, but Panarin has really been worth the money.
And speaking about not performing, Jacob Trouba has been disappointing as well. I think Neil Pionk has more points than Trouba.
Yeah.
So I know
that's a big contract he's on.
Sorry.
And that's a big contract he's on.
Yeah, 8 years at $8 million. So the Rangers basically took a risk, and they honestly should have kept Pionk, but
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll see. I mean, it's still pretty early in his career, but yeah. All right. I believe that'll do it for this show. I hope you guys enjoyed. It's just over an hour, so that's a pretty good show for us. A lot of topics covered. We'll be doing another one at some point. One thing we did not cover that I don't think we're going to have another podcast before this happens, World Junior Championships. The main reason I didn't bring it up to cover is just because there are no Canadian junior teams where I live. There's no D1 college teams where I live. So I don't really follow it that much. I do watch the World Junior Championships, though, but I don't know the players or many of the players. So I am excited for it. I always watch it. It's a lot like hockey's version of like March Madness and stuff. So I really enjoy it. But that said, I don't know enough about it to talk about it. But maybe we'll discuss like what's happening in the World Junior Championships once it's already underway. So I hope everyone enjoys that. All right, again, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.